Yo people, welcome back to another video. Now let's talk about Solo Sikoa, who managed to pick up his first singles title at Night of Champions when he defeated Jacob Fatu in Saudi Arabia. Now, his time on the main roster, it has been very up. It's had a lot of downs. At times he's looked unstoppable. At other times he's taken stupid losses. He's made to look like a clown due to poor booking from Triple H and the creative team, and it affects his momentum. I don't know about everyone, but for me, he's actually deserving of that US title that he recently picked up, and he actually shares a lot of characteristics with Dominic Mysterio, who is the other mid-card champion. They both have these gimmicks where they're basically trolling, they're up and coming, but they're different in their own ways. Dominic obviously has the whole Judgment Day storyline along with the love storyline with Liv Morgan, while for Solo it's more about, is he worthy? Is he going to be the true tribal chief, the next leader of the family? And he has to prove himself basically. Now, as for Solo and his journey, he obviously was in NXT. That's where he started out with WWE, and he was grinding, he was doing well. He was actually a face in NXT. Then he made his debut in one of the matches that was a highlight in Roman Reigns' title reign by helping Roman retain at Clash of the Castle against Drew McIntyre to prolong Roman Reigns' streak at a time when many people thought that Drew McIntyre was actually going to defeat Roman Reigns. After making his debut, he then became the silent enforcer of the bloodline, but this actually became arguably the most important time for him, even though we didn't see him as much and he wasn't doing as much as Sami Zayn, the Usos, and obviously Roman Reigns. And while he was just in the background, not on the mic, not being given much to do, he was more of like an interference character. This, in my opinion, was probably the most important part of his career in terms of learning the foundations of being on the main roster, absorbing as much information as possible. He obviously had the main event and arguably the last global WWE superstar that we're going to actually have for a few years or more in Roman Reigns. I'm sure Roman was teaching him, giving him advice. The Usos as well, they probably had tons of stuff to say. Obviously, that's their younger brother. And these guys probably still do give him advice over the phone. But in this time period, they were living in it. They were living these experiences and really telling him every little detail that they can backstage. Let's not forget he must have also taken advice from characters like Sami Zayn, but let's not forget Paul Heyman. That guy is someone that all the talents want to work with, so I'm sure he guided Solo and really taught him a lot. Another very important thing that present day, most of these up and coming wrestlers don't really have anymore, and it's important to all of these characters, are the house shows. Solo was one of those doing the house shows, and these are super important. They teach you how to work the live audience. They keep you match sharp. They give you more experience under pressure. It lets you work on new things and really fix all the small details in your game, from how you express your character down to your moveset. These are things that Seth Rollins himself has spoken about. He really says how superstars nowadays, they don't really get time to perfect their craft because there's no house shows. They're just given the time that they get on TV and that's it. Nowadays, TKO are so cheap that they've actually reduced the amount of house shows by a lot for business and profit reasons, which is stupid, and in my opinion is killing a lot of wrestlers' development. The wrestlers that are trying to make it, they don't have this extra time to work on themselves live or in front of people. They don't have ways of doing anything in terms of improvement. They just train by themselves or with their friends or whoever, and they're just resorting to just what we see on TV. That's all they have, and it's just too much pressure. Again, we've heard recently from Rhea Ripley that sometimes she felt rusty, especially when she was champion, because of the lack of matches, the lack of sharpness, and the lack of just overall getting to work on her craft. But as for Solo, he was doing all of the learning, absorbing as much information as possible, having the live shows, all of this stuff like a regular WWE superstar would go through up until TKO took over. And then came that Roman Reigns segment where he was teasing that Solo Sikoa would be the heir of the bloodline. He will be the next tribal chief. And at the time, it was something that had potential, but we hadn't seen too much of him on the mic and all round as a character. So it was still too early to say, but it was nice that they kind of played with that idea. Then came Roman Reigns' loss at WrestleMania 40. And after that, I'm not going to lie, I think Solo's stocks went down due to the poor story that they gave him and the poor momentum that he had at the time. It started out bad because Solo at the time was actually on a crazy losing streak. So for him to just be claiming the Ula Fala and calling himself the head of the table and all of that stuff, it felt weird considering that he couldn't win 2 matches in a row at that time. And it was crazy because I want to say about 6 months before that, they had let Solo Sikoa absolutely destroy John Cena, and then WWE after that decided to keep killing him by making him keep losing matches. It was night after night, week in, week out. He was taking pinfalls. He was just losing in stupid ways. Had he have had more wins than losses at that time, then he took the Ula Fala, I think fans would have believed it a lot more and he would have had a lot more momentum going into that time of his career. Another thing that I don't think really helped was they rushed the whole Jimmy Uso getting kicked out of the bloodline, Paul Heyman being kicked out of the bloodline. I think that happened way too soon. I would have kept both of them longer because you had just brought in the Tongans. You had Solo Sikoa, who still wasn't ready to be on his own and lead any groups. So I would have just had them there in the background, at least helping all these guys to settle in. But no, they kicked those two out. They brought the Tongans in alongside with Jacob, and it was unfortunate because then Jacob was the one who was becoming more and more popular. But that goes to show you what kind of character Solo Sikoa really is. He didn't just cry and complain, he got on with his job, which was actually to be the fake tribal chief and the top heel on Smackdown. This portion of his career, I think, was about taking L's and learning without having his family and the bloodline correcting him and guiding him and advising him with every single thing that he did. So this, I think, was the most important part of his career overall. It was make or break. What can you do when you're in this tough situation? And people can say, yeah, he had the Tongans, he had Jacob, but they themselves were new to the WWE, so they couldn't really help him as to what to do on the WWE main roster, which is why I said keep Jimmy and Paul a bit longer, settle in with the Tongans, and then make them leave. Also, for a while, a lot of the fans were saying Solo isn't a believable heel, he's just not that guy, he's not ready to be the top heel on SmackDown, or they just didn't like him, they say it was too forced, and all of that. While people were really liking Jacob more and more, he was the one getting all the cheers despite Solo being the leader. And again, the booking was awful for Solo. They didn't make him look strong, and when they did, it was random, it wasn't believable. So Solo really had to figure out on his own, how do you turn this around? Now, after being in the trenches and having a bad decline in his value, mostly due to the story, as I've said, he was even left out of Wrestlemania 41 this year as he had to watch Jacob win the US title. But now, Solo has finally found his lane, he started to recover from those L's. All that he's learned and he's been through is finally starting to show. His experience in ring, just on the mic, is all showing. He picked up the US title at Night of Champions. He's been very entertaining on the mic recently, in ring as well, with the whole copying people's gimmick stuff. Ever since he got left out of WrestleMania 41, he's worked on his character. It's like something motivated him as he builds his way back up on the card in general. And these are the characters that I respect the journeys and the character development. Him being rejected from WrestleMania 41 and not making the card, I think that would be the turning point of his career. As for his current character, I would have actually made Jacob stay heel and become even more of a threat and have Solo be the one to turn face. Because of his character, he's more of a comedy character, but I think they'll do something like that long term. I do think a face turn will happen probably next year. Another small detail I noticed from Night of Champions as well was him saying he's taken it all. When he won the match and he was walking up the ramp, he was talking to the camera, he was saying he's taken it all. Even in his interview that he was doing after when he won, he was talking about he's taking it all. And I think this would be a good catchphrase to get over with the crowd, especially because those are the same words that are said in his theme song, which is already over. People like his theme song. For me personally, I think he has one of the best theme songs on the current roster. But yeah, that phrase, that catchphrase, if he can get that over, it kind of sums up his character. He came in, he took Drew's moment. He came and took the Ula Fala. He's taken the US title from his family member. And yeah, it's finally looking good for Solo. If you were investing in these stocks right now, you'd actually be thriving. Now it's just all about, can they get his booking right? This is the best his stocks have been since he was the silent enforcer of the bloodline. I do think at some point the Tongans will betray Solo, leading to that face turn. But like I said, that will probably be next year, maybe Survivor Series earliest. But yeah, overall, Solo Sikoa is someone that is finally getting his flowers. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this new bloodline Tongan war that looks like it's shaping up to be ends up happening. We know Jacob and Jimmy Uso will start forming an alliance. We know we got this new Tongan. The other two Tongans will probably return. Plenty of twists and turns. I hope he doesn't get a short, stupid title reign either. And let me know what you think of this new Solo Sikoa down below in the comments. Are you interested? Is it all the same? Are you quietly optimistic? Let me know. I'd also appreciate if you could leave a like on the video, sub to the channel, and thank you for your time.